What's going on, guys? Welcome to my Descendant build series for the First Descendant. Today we're going over my 2.0 builds for Valby.
What do you get when you mix water and RK? Me, of course.
So Valby has had some ups and downs since First Descendant launched. But what makes her stand out from the others is that even when she's on a down, she's still really fun to play. There's just something about her playstyle that makes us keep coming back to her over and over again. First off, real quick, I just want to do a quick little PSA about a change they did in options. In the options under the gameplay tab, scroll down a little over halfway here, and you'll see instant cast mode. This is an absolute must in my opinion. What this does is it makes any ability that has a placement little thingy appear, like Valby's 2 or VS's 4, Jaber's turrets, etc. This makes them cast instantly wherever your cursor is pointing, rather than you having to waste time positioning, aiming, and then placing said ability. This allows for much more efficient damage output, and as you can see here, it can be chained quite nicely. For the builds in this video, I'm going to be focusing on 4 transmod: Supply Moisture, Hydro Pressure Bomb, Water Play, and Spiral Tidal Wave. Supply Moisture gives Valby massive buffs while standing on water, whether it be natural water from the area or the water she places on the ground herself. Valby gains increased firearm attack, explosive attack, firearm critical hit rate, skill critical hit rate, and skill duration, as well as a reduction to damage taken by enemies. Hydro Pressure Bomb turns Valby into a little mini Ajax. She flips around and slams the ground, causing damage. This can be chained to maximize her damage output. Water Play changes her bubble bullet into a large rectangular spread of water on the ground, instead of it bouncing around the battlefield. This can be stacked for some really nice damage. Spiral Tidal Wave converts bubble bullet into a forward firing projectile that works great on bosses. Note that this transmod is especially effective against Gluttony, as it pulls his impurity orbs that float in the sky to it like a magnet, allowing you to chain them to Gluttony a lot easier. For trigger modules, I'll be focusing on Ground Eruption. This mod is perfect for Valby because it triggers off of all of her abilities. First, you hit enemies with Ground Dot, which her 1, 2, and 3 are, as shown here. Then you hit them with a Global Dot to trigger an explosion that deals a good amount of damage. It also does additional damage against Colossi, Elites, Commanders, and Tyrants. Note that her 4th ability triggers the explosion, so just spread her water around like normal and then laundry bomb the hell out of everything for maximum damage. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's move on to the builds. As always, I offer a wide variety of builds to fit various playstyles. This video contains 4 in total, 3 for mobbing and 1 for bossing, which includes 2 variations. Her first mobbing build is crit based, and it uses Ground Eruption and Supply Moisture. The idea here is to keep her watered down as much as possible while keeping a constant barrage of bullets chaining lightning around with the Thunder Cage. Valby's Laundry status effect lowers the enemy's resistance to electricity, so the Thunder Cage is a must for this build. And remember that she gains crit bonuses for standing on water. As you can see here, her base crit rate is 20%, but put some water down and bam, it jumps up to max. So make sure you're always standing on water to maximize her damage output. The mods for this build are Supply Moisture, Skill Concentration, Frontlines, Focus on Non-Attribute, Skill Expansion, Nimble Fingers, MP Conversion, Spear and Shield, Skill Insight, her Ancestors mod, and Focus on Fusion. For the Ancestor mod, you'll want fusion skill power and skill crit rate. Skill crit damage and non-attribute are also nice, though focus more on rate over damage, if focusing on crit. Here is the RK tuning for this build. And you'll want to use the non-attribute cohesion mutant cell. The last two mobbing builds are both non-crit. The first one uses ground eruption and hydro pressure bomb. This build is a lot of fun to play. Simply spread your water like normal, throw the hypernova to gather them up, and then jump on their head like some kind of crackhead Mario. The jump does more damage to those affected with your laundry status, so make sure you keep your water out at all times, and then just bounce around like a crazy person. It's great. The mods for this build are Hydro Pressure Bomb, Focus on Fusion, Fusion Amplification, Non-Attribute Amplification, Spear and Shield, Nimble Fingers, MP Conversion, her Ancestors module, Power Increase, Skill Expansion, and Decimator. For the Ancestor mod, I recommend Skill Cost, Cooldown, and Non-Attribute Skill Power. The final mobbing build uses ground eruption and water play. Now, water play is a bit deceptive at first. It doesn't appear to do that good of damage, but the thing is, it stacks. As you can see here, one single stack dealt 367 million damage against this group. Now watch what happens when I stack them. Note that this was at 5 billion damage before I even pulled out the laundry bomb. Combine that with the hypernova and it does some pretty disgusting damage. 8.3 billion when it was all said and done. So just run around and pepper that water everywhere. The mods for this build are Water Play, Fusion Amplification, Focus on Fusion, Nimble Fingers, Scale Expansion, MP Conversion, Focus on Non-Attribute, Non-Attribute Amplification, Non-Attribute Synthesium, Amplification Control, and her Ancestor module. Now, I know what you're thinking. You could swap out Focus on Non-Attribute for power increase for a little bit of extra power output. But I have it this way because the lower cooldown allows you to cast her one a lot more. And as you saw, the damage with this build is insane. So power increase really would hurt the build more than it would help it. But you do you. For the Ancestors module, you'll want skill cost, cooldown, and non-attribute skill power. And here is the RK tuning for these two builds. And you'll want to use the non-attribute cohesion mutant cell. Now, for the bouncing build, I have two different variations. I use ground eruption, and for the trans mod, I use either supply moisture or spiral tidal wave. If you're looking to focus more on firearms, then use supply moisture. But if you want a more skill power focused build, use spiral tidal wave. Spiral tidal wave allows you to fire a water bullet at the enemy, and this works great against most colossi, especially gluttony. I personally prefer supply moisture because you can spread your water whilst focusing on spreading dots with the thunder cage or popping weak points with the blue beetle, whichever you prefer. The mods for this build are supply moisture, skill insight, focus on fusion, focus on non-attribute. Her Ancestors mod, Nimble Fingers, increased HP, Spear and Shield, Skill Concentration, Skill Expansion, and MP Conversion. Note that you can also use the Relative Speed trigger module when bossing because it triggers off of slow type skills, which all 4 of Valby's skills are slow. When it max stacks, it triggers from landing weak points, so this is great if you're using the Blue Beetle as opposed to relying on the Laundry Bomb to trigger ground eruption. This is especially great when fighting Wall Crasher. For the Ancestor mod, focus on fusion skill power, non-attribute skill power, and skill crit rate. Here is the RK tuning for this build. And you'll want to use the RK Chain Catalyst Mutant Cell. For weapons, I used the Thunder Cage for general mobbing, the Hypernova when I'm running either Hydro Pressure Bomb or Water Play, though the Thunder Cage works great for Water Play as well, depending on your playstyle, and the Blue Beetle when bossing, especially when I'm fighting Wall Crasher and I have a specific separate build for him. And here is the build for those. For the Fellow, you definitely want to use the Snowy Sled Dog for the MP regen. For her Reactor, you'll want to use a materialized mixture reactor for everything. Try to get skill cooldown if you can. You'll thank me later. For her external components, you'll definitely want to use the Enlightened Mage set. Some people recommend the Slayer set, but I find the Enlightened Mage set to be better overall. But again, you do you. For her Inversion Reinforcement, I use 2 different builds depending on what I am doing. When I'm using firearms, I use Ammo System for the quicker reload, Selective Neural Stimulation for the MP regen, and RK Circulation Tactic for the cooldown. But when you're using the Hypernova, swap out Ammo System with Blade Extension for the extra range and critical hit damage. Overall, Valby is an absolute blast to play. She's quite unique and never gets boring like some of the other Descendants. Well, to me, anyway. Check out my other Descendant build videos, and please feel free to ask any questions you may have about this build or about Valby herself. And that's it for this video, guys. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Later.